our Turkey trip that we just had in November. So a year ago, it was the 1st of March was the end of our trip. We did an expedition trip to Turkey to see the needs. We had been in Greece and had been there a couple of years working. And we went into northern Greece and we went to Turkey on an expedition. It was Sarah Franklin, myself, and Mike Hamilton. And when we went to Turkey, we saw a tremendous need in a very different capacity than we saw in Greece. So we were determined after that we would take a group back to Turkey, and that happened in November. So in November, this is our actual pictures. Stephen Woods is right here, awesome photographer, took pictures. A lot of these pictures are from Stephen Woods, and this is the group in November that went. We had 8 individuals, that volunteers that went and did over 20 tons of donations and food that they packaged and gave to the refugees on the border there. So with that being said, we're going to do the exact same thing for Facebook Live, go over the itinerary for tonight, the introduction, mission, goals, background info. Why Turkey? Why did we go to Turkey? And then itinerary, team, accommodations, and expectations. So, like Holly said, we're dedicated to serving underprivileged and vulnerable individuals around the globe through humanitarian efforts. The other thing that's really important for us at Hope Worldwide Utah is organize affordable expeditions so that everyone who has that desire to serve and that desire to help, that they can afford it and go. Many times you'll see groups go 6 to 8 people. We try to get 16, 24, 30 people. It's not because it's easier for us, it actually has its challenges, but we do it because we want as many people in our country to go to these places. We want them to feel what it is like to be a volunteer and serve people in these capacities. I can tell you all day long what it's like. It is nothing comparable than going and serving and doing it there on site. It's a completely amazing experience that is life-changing, and that's what we want, and that's what happens when you go and do it. And then when you do it twice, it even magnifies. It's really cool. The more you do it, the more it changes your perspective, and you're able to come back and share your experiences in your community and in your country, which is called our culture, and it changes our culture and how we look at things. This is our team. These are amazing people, volunteers, from executive leadership to support staff to communications to translators and fundraisers to the board to expedition leaders to magicians to amazing photographer and drone. What do we call you, Justin? A drone captain? I have no idea, but he's good at it. It was really cool. Amazing people, and this is just a portion of the people that give of their time and their effort and their money to really help thousands of people in all these different countries that we've gone to. Volunteers are really, really special people. They have a heart that is consistent through all volunteers. How many of you have volunteered and gone on a trip? Lots of you. It's a special thing, and each person that volunteers, it's a feeling everyone has that I think makes volunteers around the world very special, and these are special people. So, Turkey. This is Lib in, they basically bombed an entire city in Syria. The problems we're having now is because of war. Because of over 5 years of war, they literally blew up cities, whole cities in this country. If you look at the pictures of the cities in Syria, Aleppo, go back 20, 30 years, they're beautiful cities. They're gone now, they're just rubble. And when this happens, it is a massive migration. Everyone gets the heck out of Dodge. And the way they're getting out couldn't be worse because they have nothing. They have to leave. There's no more choice. And so what's happened is we've seen millions of people flood out of Syria, which is affecting the Turkey-Syrian borders with an accumulation of millions of people. It is the devastation of war is what we're seeing in this particular case in massive proportions. To share with you the scope of it, and these are called refugee migration paths. So what happens, Turkey is a gateway, it's a doorway through Europe. So from Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, they're all flooding through Turkey. Actually, my birth father lives in Iran, and a lot of Iranian people go through Turkey to try to get out of Iran and go to other places in the world. So Syria, everyone's going through Turkey. So you have millions of people going through. That's where you get all the dynamics in Europe, off of Lesbos and in Greece.
What do the colors mean? I can't quite read the.
Source countries, transit countries, destination and transit country, and destination countries are in green. So, and I didn't really focus as much on this, but really what we're seeing here is all the Syrian buildup on the Turkish border. So here's really what's happening. This is where all the refugees. Have you guys ever wondered why they just stick right on the border? Why do you think that is?
Governments don't want them to go in, right? In some cases.
Sure.
It's safe. They made it to the safe destination. They don't want to keep traveling. They're weary and tired and out of money.
Yeah.
They want to go home.
Who said that? Yeah. They don't, like in Greece, when you see them going into Greece, they're trying to get a new life, a better life in Germany or Switzerland or any of these other friendly countries. In this case, many times it's different. They want to have a safe place. They want to go back to their country. They want to go back to Syria. That was unique. I thought that was touching. They said, it's safer to be on the border than it is in the cities we grew up and lived in. So yeah, there's massive concentrations all throughout here from Gaziantep and Adana, which will show. So the places, because of those massive concentrations, you have millions of people sitting right on that border. The two places we'll focus on are Gaziantep and Adana. The distance between that is about a 2.5-hour drive. So Aleppo is right here, not very far. But Gaziantep is about an hour and a half from Gaziantep, which will be, it's about an hour and a half to the camps, to the actual recognized camps. And then Adana, we drive about, is it an hour, Sarah? Hour and a half? An hour?
45 minutes, hour.
45 minutes to an hour to get to the camps there. So these are the two places we're going to serve and work in. Let's talk about the life in a refugee camp. This is actually one of the camps we've been to and will go to. They're rough. There's the same concept, just tents that are made of plastic and PVC pipe, really, in this case. There's 2.7 million refugees on that border. 95% are not in official camps. They're not like in Greece, where it's a government-run and managed camp with all the NGOs. You really don't have NGOs in the country much in Turkey. The country doesn't do that. Most of the people that are in Syria on this border in Turkey, they were all middle class. I mean, you'll have all kinds of people that were educated and had cars and houses, and they've lost everything, and they've now in a really tough challenge and situation. They do lose hope because it's now been so many years. Think about it, their children aren't going to school for over 5 years. It's a tougher life for sure. They're dealing with rats and snakes and bugs in these tents that just typically have carpet usually in it. They're bored, very few activities, little to no money, agricultural work or indentured servants. They do work. It's very agricultural here, so many of the people that will work in the farms. They make very little money at doing it, but they to stay on this land, they have to work, the farmers will let them stay here, but they have to work the farms for migrant working. Little to no educational opportunities. Like we said, they want to return, and limited sanitations. When we went in November, I heard stories of the conditions. Some of the camps didn't even have any type of bathrooms. There was no bathrooms or even outhouses or squats where they could go and use the restroom. So it's a tough situation, and there's tons of these throughout this area. Life in a refugee camp. These are pictures I took, actually. These little girls, this is actually the restrooms, but these little girls, there was lots of little girls, and all their shirts all of a sudden were wet. Do you know why they had all these wet shirts all of a sudden? We were there having fun talking to them. They all left and they came back and all their shirts were really wet. Do you know why? Because we were there, they wanted to look presentable. So they all ran down to the water and washed their faces off so they could come back and say hi and play with us and be with us. These little girls had nothing, of course, but they had flowers. So they ran and picked all these flowers, and who did they give them to? Did they give them to me? No, they gave them to this lady. Sarah Franklin had lots and lots of flowers. The little girls loved giving her flowers, and it was very beautiful. The kids were amazing. They were, I mean, it doesn't matter where you go. Kids are kids. They, they'll play, they'll run. They're just kids. They just want to laugh, and like they want you to take pictures of them. And we had a magic show, and they went nuts. They loved it, and they loved being kids. And the people are very stoic. You know, the adults are very stoic in how they stand and how they don't smile as much. But when we had a magic show with Mike Hamilton, the parents laughed, the women laughed. It was really, really cool to see it. They washed their clothes just in buckets. They cooked their food just on a wood open fire. They do food distribution. This is a picture of Tamir. He is our contact in in-country NGO that we work with, and he is a refugee himself. And he oversees and looks over about 9 camps, and he helps trying to get people to come and help him to feed all these different camps and all these people that he cares for. He was a teacher in Syria, and now he's a refugee that's helping literally thousands of people. He's a very good man named Tamir. We have 3 main goals that we want to accomplish, but I'd like to have I'd like Helen and Michelle to, will you guys share with us what you guys did when you did your objectives? What did you guys accomplish, and what was that like? Helen, will you go first? Oh, will you come up here so we can have you? Come on.
I'm just floored because I was thinking that I hoped you had pictures of children hugging and kissing Michelle. I wasn't No, I mean, I taught elementary school, so not a big deal, but when I saw children gather around and hug and kiss Michelle, I took so many pictures of children coming up to her. Our objective was to get food to hundreds of family units, and there was a lot of lifting. And it won't be that, well, I don't know what you're doing this trip, I don't know, but I know I was watching Michelle and watching Sarah, and they're both quite, I think, slight, and they're strong as bull moose. I turned 64 years old tomorrow, and I ended up lifting all that garbage, Chuck, believe it. The big truck was filled up many times, and we took the truck load of food into the warehouse that is Tamer's warehouse, and he was a wonderful helper, refugee dude. I love that man. That's him right there. He's just incredible. We unloaded this truck many times, got the stuff into the warehouse, then needed to take the big packages and put them into smaller packages, and although that sounds easy, it was very exhausting, time consuming, and we had to tie people got sore fingers, sore blisters, very good biceps. I don't know, did any part of it hurt, Sarah? Just lifting. And then we got to put all that stuff onto the trucks in these bags that weighed about 60 pounds each. And we went to camps and were able to distribute it to the camp leaders, the heads of the homes or the family heads. And just the distribution went different in different camps, but people were so grateful. See, these things, that's a nice way to handle it, but we would take that heavy thing and give it to one man and then watch him struggle as he would carry it to his family. And we saw a couple of women just up on their heads and they were good to go. But it just, that was our big objective. And then we got to talk to them. Of course they don't speak English, but one mom told us, she said that this war in Syria, her daughter was born when the war started, so she keeps track of the chronology of the war by the age of her daughter. And the daughter has known nothing but war and refugee camp. And I just, we had a reunion, a turkey reunion at Ron's, I don't know when that was, just not too long ago.
January.
And he said, and I agree with him, you can see things on the news, you can see pictures from afar. There is nothing the same as looking at people, looking in their eyes, seeing that they are not angry with their God. They were grateful to be alive. We took them things and they gave us tea. They brought us oranges. One of the fellows just said he didn't think he could do it again. We were giving them food and they would insist on giving us a huge, we'd sit down in a tent, sometimes out on the ground on a tarp, and they would give us tea, they would give us cucumbers, knowing that they didn't have food, but they needed to give to us. Their faith strengthened my faith, and now all of a sudden international news is very concerning to me. And a convoy of 46 trucks was headed into Syria today, and the Syrian government took 70% of the supplies that were on there, including food for 27,000 people. It was supposed to go to Syria, but I know that refugees got the food that we gave them because we handed it to them. And they said thank you, and they took it. Life-changing.
Thank you so much, Helen. Okay, Michelle, get up here.
Great experience. As Helen said, a lot of it was just packaging up the food in a different way, buying a big bag, sorting it into smaller bags, and distributing it. I think my favorite part of the whole thing was, well, many favorite parts. Kind of having my assumptions challenged as far as what I thought I knew of the people in the area, learning that I was way wrong. When you hear, or when you see on the news, people in the Middle East shouting death to America, I thought, are these people really gonna like us being there, or what's going on? And they were so grateful and so giving. I think that was another very eye-opening experience for me. The first camp that we went to had this, I think 4 giant tins of rice and chicken. And I think someone selfish like me would have been like, well, I'll just hide this bag at the car, and I don't have it. And they gave everything that they had. And they insisted that we drink tea with them, like Helen said, shared every last thing that we had. The kids were the cutest little things you've ever seen. Very welcoming. They don't see their situation as bad as someone else might. You feel bad for them, but they're happy as can be there. And so very, very eye-opening. Highly recommend going. I hope to go back. So, I don't know, is that covered all?
That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you very, very
Yeah.
much. So we do have 3 main goals. Water and sanitation, really, really important, just like anywhere in the world. We hope to build some bathrooms at some of the smaller camps that don't have any. We also will do the same thing we did last time. We'll have food boxes created. Those bags, weren't they about 60 pounds?
They were 60 pounds, and then I had we had the privilege of giving, on top of that, about a 10-pound tin of oil.
Oh, beautiful.
And
They
it was
loved
pretty
your part.
funny. And cleaning supplies.
And cleaning.
And then a
hygiene.
separate one of cleaning supplies, hygiene kit, yep.
Yep, so hygiene kits, we'll do the exact same thing this time, because there's so just that basic element of need. Food boxes, we'll put it together, we'll distribute them, and deliver supplies to families. The school project will help with games with the children and supplies. And like they said, one of the neatest things is being able to interact with the people. And so that is probably what we should say the fourth main goal is connecting and interacting and meeting the people in the camps. And I'm excited to have Mike there this year to have a magic show because the kids love it. And the whole camp, it lifts their whole spirits. And so I'm excited about that. This will be May 5th to the 15th. Everyone departs on May 5th. We arrive in Adana. Everyone is responsible to get to Adana. So that means if you're in Salt Lake City, you're gonna go through Paris, or you're gonna go through Amsterdam, and then you'll go into Istanbul. You'll take a local carrier, it could be Pegasus, it could be Turkish Airways. It's about a $50 flight, $30 to $50 flight, and it's about an hour and a half, and it'll get you into Adana. Once you're in Adana, you'll go to the Adana Hilton. If you're by yourself, it's $7 for a taxi to get there, so it's very close. Orientation will begin on the next day. Everyone will fly the 5th and the 6th. Everyone that evening will get into Adana. Orientation will be on that morning. We will at that point take the volunteers in Adana camps and start doing the warehouse, and we'll have probably most of the food already purchased this time. So it's a little bit easier than it was last time. So those little wrinkles. But anyway, what will happen is we'll then take another group, so we'll split our group. If we have about 16 people, 14, 16, somewhere in there, we'll split the group. Half the group will go to Gaziantep, the other group will stay in Adana, and then halfway through, we'll swap those two groups so they can experience both of those two different cities and experiences. And we'll do all the different same things that we said in that group. The 13th and 14th will be, the 13th will be a travel day and sightseeing in Istanbul, and then we depart. When we're in Istanbul, how many of you have been to Istanbul? Is it awesome?
Yep.
It's an amazing city. So we're gonna spend time in Istanbul and go to the boat tours and the Blue Mosque and the spice markets and I heard the Turkish baths are awesome. So we're definitely doing that.
Yes.
Just saying. So, with that being said, whoops. The cost for this trip to Turkey is $13.50 plus airfare. It does cover lodging, rental cars, gas, tolls, all meals, and snacks. How was the food?
Sauce is good. It was awesome.
Fabulous.
Cool, it was awesome, good. We're staying at the Adana Hilton and another place in Gaziantep. We don't have that location quite pinned down, but it'll be in the city of Gaziantep. You'll be sharing a room and a bathroom with others in the group. Water, don't drink the water in Turkey, bottled water works. You probably could in the Adana Hilton. It's a pretty nice hotel, I think. Did you guys drink the water
Yes.
at the Hilton?
At the Hilton.
I would drink it there, yeah. Outlets, bring a converter. This is an example of what they are. Did you have this one, Justin? This one you have? They just clip out, and they've got USB, like this one has, just on Amazon, $20, and it has 4 little USBs, and then you can do your plug-in here. Very simple, very easy. When you want to put it back, you just push the button, and it slides back. Really handy to have. So you do need outlets. Immunizations, follow the recommendations made by the CDC. Okay, same as the Bangladesh process for the next steps, pay the $400 online at Hope Worldwide Utah, donate. The remaining fees will be on April 8th. You'll fill out your paperwork, we'll do the background checks, make sure all that pans out. Once that happens, you'll travel arrangements, purchase your airfare. An example of airfare, I pulled one up. Delta flies, well, let me get it. I did an example, I wanted to see. So it's 1,084 from Salt Lake City at 3:04 p.m. on the 5th. It gets into Amsterdam at 11:40 a.m. And then it goes from Amsterdam to Istanbul. And then from Istanbul, you would take In this, I think it's Pegasus, and then you would go to Adana. So it's about, you can get deals anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 to get into Adana. Once you're in Adana, we'll do all our work and we'll take care of all the flights getting everyone back to Istanbul. So your main flight is going to be from wherever you live to Istanbul. That's your main, back and forth. From the 5th flying in, on the 15th flying out. Some people, because you're right in the heart of so many other great countries, will continue their trip and go to Italy and different places and have fun. So that's about the airfare situation. Once you've filled and purchased your airfare, applying for a visa is really simple. You can apply, so I applied for mine already. You basically apply, it's a 6-month visa, it's about $20. You can go on to evisa.gov.tr and you just fill out, put your passport information. It's really quick, really easy, and it'll actually give you your visa right there online. It'll print it out, I save it on my phone, and you're good to go. It starts when you enter the country, so say on the 5th, it's good from that day that they enter for 6 months. That's about, I think it was $22 or something. So that's the visa process. You don't have to send in your visa, any of that, just a piece of paper, and I saved it on my phone. So, any questions? They go, there's a lot of, that's a really good question. Some have been there for years. When you guys were there, how long
Yeah, I
had they
have-
been in?
So there's 2 different like refugee in Turkey. So these camps, the people in these camps are not registered. So they're not registered with the Turkish government as refugees. So no one knows how long.
Undocumented.
Undocumented, exactly. So no one knows how long they're gonna stay, or even if they're gonna be registered with the government or not. The other camps in Gaziantep, probably they're registered. They're more established and stable in this, but those camps in Adana are unofficial camps,
Yeah.
so they're not recognized.
Yeah. But over 90% of refugees in country are not in established camps because there's so many, because there's close to 3 million. Most of them are not in registered camps, or in official camps. But some of them register, some of them don't register, some of them have reasons for registering, some of them have reasons for not registering.
And
But
you have to register in each town.
the
If you
reality of
don't,
it
you
is
have to
these
register.
people have been living there for most of them for years. So the Syrian war has been going on for about 7 years, and so there's been a number of them that have been that long. Some of them, the bombing didn't hit their cities until later, so maybe they've only been there 3 or 4 years. But a number of the families that we've met with have been there for a long time. Sometimes they will, usually ones that have already made the decision to travel to Europe have left or are past this point. Most of the ones around this area want to go back to Syria.
They're just on a holding pattern.
They're totally in a holding pattern. I mean, to get here, they had to be smuggled here in the first place. And so there are some that attempt to go back and forth across the border. It's not a safe thing for them to do. But, so yeah, they're really, for the most part, they can't go home. And there's continued bombing, chemical attacks in the towns there still. But they don't really have the opportunities to build a life where they're at. They can, even if they register, that usually means that they might have some additional access to resources, but often it doesn't. It just means that you're now officially in a system. It doesn't mean you get food or more food or other things.
Any other questions? Thank you.